And everyone is being admitted.
Awesome. And Sarah, if you can just help me keep an eye on the waiting room, that'd be great. Hi, everyone. This is Michaela. If you're just joining us, I want to let you know that we have Asl Interpreting, and the Asl Interpreter is spotlighted on your screen today. In addition, we have CART captioning available. If you need to access CART, it is on an outside link, and we will put that link in the chat box for you. I'm putting that there now. Add that. We also have auto captions turned on in Zoom. Those are not always accurate. So if you are wanting to utilize the captioning today, we advise you to use the CART link that has been provided in the chat box. We will wait just a few more minutes before we kick off our webinar and just let a few more people join us. If you are with us already, we ask that you turn off your camera and mute yourself so that there's less busyness on the screen. It is looking like our interpreter is a little bit lagging behind. Is that just on my end or? Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Hamaker, and I am the Texas Hands and Voices Guide by Your Side Program Coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. We are going to be sharing with you about birth to 3 services across the state of Texas, what that means for families and professionals. We are proud and lucky to have with us today Mari Hubig, who is with the Statewide Outreach Center, and Tammy Miller of ECI. And I'll make further introductions with Mari and Tammy in just a moment. But I just want to make sure we're admitting people in the waiting room. Some folks are still joining us. If you are still joining us and you weren't here when we made the announcements, we do have an Asl interpreter who is spotlighted on your screen. So that is accessible to everyone. If you would like to utilize CART, there is a CART link that I am putting in the chat box, and you can access the captioning via the link provided. We have auto captions set up in Zoom. Those are not always as accurate. So if you are wanting to use the captioning, we do advise that you utilize that through the CART link. If you would please turn off your cameras and mute yourselves, that will eliminate some of the busyness on the screen and allow everybody to just have better access. Also joining us today, I want to introduce Sarah Milam. Sarah, do you want to take a minute and tell them who you are?
Hi, I'm Sarah Milam. I am the ASTRA coordinator for Texas Hands and Voices, and that just means I handle the educational advocacy part of our services, me and my team. So if you are ever in need of help with an IFSP, IEP 504, or if you're not sure what any of those things mean, I'm the person you reach out to.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to let us know. We'd be glad to make sure everybody has the accommodations they need. Otherwise, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. and want to formally introduce you to Mari and Tammy. If you missed the introduction earlier, Mari Hubig is the Birth to 3 Outreach Specialist at the Statewide Outreach Center at the Texas School for the Deaf. And Tammy Miller is the Lead Interagency Coordination and Outreach Specialist. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Tammy, I'll let you do that introduction yourself. But I know the titles can be something to get used to. So thank you both for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and turn the webinar over to you guys and let you get started.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Appreciate the introductions. Ooh, hello, and something very loud just started. Oh my goodness, okay. Sorry, there was a big loud noise in the background. Okay, let me share my screen. And all righty. All right, so thank you again, Michaela, for the introductions. We appreciate it. Again, my name is Mari Hubig, and I have been working with families with deaf or hard of hearing infants and toddlers for almost 30 years now. And Tammy and I have come together just to talk about early childhood services, what we provide, and how you as parents are such a critical part of the team who are working together to try and support your family and your child. So, why are we here? We are here today for you. We are here today for your family, for your child or your children, for your extended family, for your caregivers, for anyone who is involved in your family's life and the life of your child. We are here to support you and to support everyone within your child's daily environment. And together we work as partners. So this is a 3-part partnership. We have ECI. ECI is responsible for handling all of the specialized services to children birth to 3 with disabilities, with developmental delays, or with hearing or vision loss. We have our local school district, which is your home school district. And these are responsible for specialized services to children birth to 3 who are deaf or hard of hearing. And this includes your local regional day school programs for the deaf. And then the piece that brings us all together are you, the parents, the caregivers, the guardians. You know, ECI is working birth to 3. Our local school districts typically are working with kids 3 and up, but the deaf ed teacher and the teacher for the visually impaired, we come out of the local school district. And so you parents and your families are what bring us all together and create this very powerful partnership that allow us to bring services and supports to your family and your children. All right, Tammy.
All right. So I did want to point out that for ECI, anyone can make a referral, and a lot of our referrals come from parent, and they're based on a parent concern. So you are a very important part of the process. And the child, you do not have to have a medical doctor to give you a diagnosis before you make a referral to ECI. You do not have to have any kind of pre-testing. You can just have a concern, because that isn't important. As a parent of the child, your concerns are very important, and you're usually, you are the expert, and you're usually right on track. So the child may not qualify, there may not be a delay, but there's definitely something they want to get you in. And once you get referred, or once a referral is made, ECI will do an evaluation. So we bring expertise in birth to 3 years old, and that's up to 36 months. For children who have a disability or a developmental delay, or the disability are those that would likely result in some sort of a developmental delay. And so we have, we provide global support to children and families. We serve the child, but we're really here to support the family. And I think you'll see later on how that part plays in and how important it is. The family is really the middle, the beginning, and the end for us. And so our ECI services can be a variety of services. You'll see physical therapy, you'll see occupational therapy, we have nutrition services. Of course, we work with our wonderful teachers. There are early intervention specialists who are credentialed. These all come from a variety of disciplines, and that wide variety of disciplines is designed to address a wide variety of delays, and that's how we determine. So whatever your child needs, not every child will have physical therapy, not every child will have speech therapy. The child will have whatever they need. That's who will be assigned to work with them, and that's the type of services. So we look at what's the parent's concern, now what are the child's needs, and now let's build a team, and we'll talk about the team in a little bit. And then every family will get a case manager when they refer to ECI, and they will help the families to connect to local resources, support, and services. So, you know, ECI, we do a lot, but we're not everything. Families need a variety of services, and that's what my role is that interagency partnership. Michaela did a wonderful job describing it. The title is really long, but basically I just help our programs to identify resources locally so that they can share those and help families.
All right. And then what the teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing brings, we bring a number of things too. Obviously, as trained deaf ed teachers, we bring a certain amount of expertise in language development of young children who are deaf or hard of hearing. And so, you know, we come with this knowledge of what early language looks like and of some of the expectations that we have and some of the areas that we need to look at specific to children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Obviously, we have a lot of experience with different types of hearing technology. So if your child is going to wear hearing aids or a cochlear implant or a BAHA, a bone anchored hearing aid, or an auditory brainstem implant. There are so many different types of hearing technology out there. And so, you know, we come with a lot of background and information about these different types of hearing technology, how they work, and what they can do for a child. One of the biggest areas that we discuss probably in deaf ed is communication, and how are we going to bring communication and language to our children. And so as parents, that is a piece that you choose. You get to make decisions for what communication mode or approaches that you may want to use. And then as teachers for the deaf and all of us as an ECI team, we all work with you to support your child and your family's development of those skills in order to bring about that language and communication. And then obviously we bring specific resources and supports and services, things that we have either been specially trained in or things that we know of based on our work with children who are deaf and hard of hearing and their families. And everything that we bring into the home, everything that we bring to you is information to help you determine what is the best next step for your child and for your family. And then as parents, you bring a critical piece to this partnership too. You bring the expertise on your child and you bring the expertise on your family. We don't have that. None of us come in with that. And that is such a vital piece that you bring to us and to the table as we begin to look at how to best support your family and your child, is your expertise on your child specifically and what you know. You bring your knowledge of your family, your culture, how interpersonal relationships work within your family. All of this is information that obviously we can't have coming in. And so we come in with our professional information, but you bring this daily in your home every minute of everyday knowledge that we will all need in order to continue to support your child and family. And these are all ways that we also learn as professionals. We come in and learn through you. You bring your concerns and your needs for your child and family, and that is the foundation, as Tammy said earlier, of everything we do. You come to us with what it is you are worried about. You come to us with the concerns or the needs for your child, and we are there to help you figure out where to go, how to find the information you need, and then where to move forward. Obviously, you come with a deep desire to communicate with your child. We are all born innately ready to communicate with each other. And so as parents and as caregivers, you come to this ready and willing and desperately desiring to have good communication with your child. And we all know that you bring your hearts and souls to this partnership. You allow us into your home. You allow us to get to know you and your child and to interact with your family. And, you know, that is really, that's allowing us to come into this very wonderful and special place in your world to try and support you. All right, Tammy. So when we're talking about supporting families.
So how do we support you? So the ECI program can, and we talked about maybe changing this instead of saying they can to say they will. And I want to clarify that they will, again, we're here to support you. So if you say, I would like you guys to contact the local education agency, we want to do some collaboration, they will do that. It's not a, they can if they want to, they can if they won't. They will contact the local education agency for collaboration.
Yep, sorry.
There we go. My internet's a little weird too. So this is, yeah, it keeps telling me I'm not connected, but I think I am. So they will schedule a meeting with the parent advisor during that referral source. And this is something that you just can ask for. And at any time, if you say, you know, I want a parent advisor to join us, or, you know, could you guys go ahead and get a parent advisor involved, and they will go ahead and schedule that and connect with them.
And just let me jump in just to clarify. Parent advisor is also another term for a certified teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing who are working in early intervention. And I didn't clarify that earlier, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page that parent advisor and teacher for the deaf are the same thing.
We forget we all don't think alike, which is probably a good thing. And then they can consent for that parent advisor to join the IFSP team as quickly as possible. So that's a part that's one of those things I consider the parent responsibility, is that is to speak up. And if you want someone to sit in on the IFSP team, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but you'll ask for it and you'll give them the consent that they can do that. And there should not be any problem with getting them to join the team and bring in that expertise that you want in there. So you're the controller. You know, we say, this is what we think your child may need. Here's the disciplines that we have. Here's the partners we can connect with. And then you as the parent sit down and say, okay, here's who I want on my team. And that can change. You know, you may say, no, you know, we're good right now. And then later on, you may say, you know what, I want to get that parent advisor, you know, and that's okay. You just need to speak up at any point in time. They can get the consent and go ahead and adjust the team as necessary.
Okay, and then from the school district perspective, some of the things that we can provide. One of the things that, again, because those of us in deaf ed typically spend a lot of time working both within our school districts, but also out in the communities, often we can help connect you with a pediatric audiologist or ENT as needed in order to get the determination of hearing status, whether or not your child is deaf or hard of hearing, and then to get the information needed so that we can start looking at services. We can absolutely help families and ECI with getting the required documentation. Texas has specific things that we must have before we can begin services in the home. And so that is one of the pieces that the school district can help you with, is collecting that information. We all, in our various programs throughout the state, have information to share. So if parents have questions, if you aren't certain what these services mean, what does it look like to have a parent advisor or a teacher of the deaf coming into my home, you can certainly ask ECI, and then they can also connect you with the LEA or get information from your local school district so that you understand better what it is that we provide and why it is we're coming into your home. And then we also, again, like I said earlier, we provide resources so that you have more information as you begin your journey with your child. And as you begin moving forward, we want to make sure that you have resources and information that you can tap into, so that you are able to be an advocate for your child and feel empowered to be able to stand up and make sure that your child is getting what he or she needs. And then some things that you can do in support of your children. This, I cannot stress this enough. Actively participate in the meetings. We have at least 2 meetings every year with ECI, and sometimes more. And it is so important that parents actively participate, ask questions, join in as we're having these discussions, make sure that you understand what we're talking about, and make sure that we are continuing to hear what your concerns and your needs for your child and family are. Never feel awkward about offering suggestions or asking that something be changed. The documents that we write, the Individualized Family Service Plan document that we write, all of the information that we collect, this is information for you. This is information to support us so that we can support and help you. And so if you look at something and think that's not right, or what you've written is not going to work for my child and family, let us know, because your voice has to be a very loud part of our conversation, so that we are always all on the same page about what it is we're looking at and where we need to go. Ask for help at any point. If you get lost in the conversation, as Tammy said earlier, sometimes we forget. In professional land, sometimes we forget, and we will start throwing around letters or names of things that you may not know. And so never feel awkward asking for help or clarification at any time. And again, always keep your concerns and your needs at the forefront of these meetings and of your home services. We don't come in and try to circumvent the process. Most of us are not coming in and sitting down and thinking, okay, today we're going to ignore the family's needs. But, like anybody else, we start working on something and we can get a little bit myopic and focused on one thing. And sometimes other things don't stay in the forefront of our minds. And so always being able to stand up and say, wait, we've wandered off down this rabbit trail, but really my concern is back over here, and redirect, and we will come back and sit with you and again, get back on track.
Mari?
Yes.
This is Michaela. I did get a couple of questions here.
Sure.
Okay, one of the questions was, do parent advisors teach sign language?
They absolutely can. That is an excellent question. Yes, a parent advisor or a certified teacher of the deaf that is coming into your home under ECI will work with you to support and help you and your child become fluent users of whatever communication approach you've chosen. So if you choose signed English, that teacher will help you with learning signed English. If you've chosen American Sign Language, that teacher will help you with that. If you have chosen listening and spoken language, then that teacher will offer you strategies and offer you instruction in ways to make that most effective. So yes, absolutely. Teaching sign can be part of that service.
Thank you, Mari. Another part to that question was, do they come into my home?
Yes and no, and we are going to get to that. So let's hold on that question, because we're going to get to that in just a minute. That's a really good question.
Okay, and another question here. Whose responsibility is it to contact the local school district if my child does have a hearing loss?
That responsibility is typically ECI's. So when you are referred, or when you refer your child to early childhood intervention, they have a process that they go through. And part of that process is talking about the needs that you know that your child has. And so if there is a question about a hearing loss, or if your child has been identified as being deaf or hard of hearing, then you give ECI signed consent to contact the local school district, and then they will contact that school district and get that deaf ed teacher to join the IFSP team and be part of the team for your child and family.
Thank you. We have some more questions centered around ASL. Are the ASL teachers native users or CODAs or SODAs, and are they certified to teach ASL?
I would say by and large, your deaf ed teachers are not certified ASL instructors, no. But here in Texas, we also have a deaf and hard of hearing mentor program. And so what our hope is that for families who have chosen ASL and are not in a place like Austin, where it is far easier to access ASL, that we have deaf mentors that we can connect families with, and that person would partner with the deaf ed teacher, the family, ECI, if the parents wish that too, so that we do have a native ASL user who is part of that instructional group.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mari.
Sure.
Mari, can I add, a lot of times when you're, especially if this is your first child, or maybe you've had other children, but maybe you've not experienced a challenge with hearing, and this is new to you, and you don't know, like, I don't know, do I want ASL? I don't know, do I want, that's when you would ask, and they could bring all the information, and, you say, what's available? Let's look at and spend some time with the team looking at the option. Don't feel like that you have to say, oh, I know I want to, because this is the first time I've heard of CODA. I'll admit that. So if I were a parent and you asked me, I would say, should I want that? And that's okay to ask for, hey, I want to know what the options are. And then I want help to make that decision. I know a lot of times parents say, well, I really didn't know. Ask. Perfectly fine. It actually helps us.
All right, so after we've gone through the referral and the deaf ed teacher has joined this initial team to start talking about your child's language and communication and hearing levels. One of the first things that the parent advisor is going to do is a communication and language development assessment. And so what we're really looking at that point is, how is your child communicating right now? And where is it that we want to see your child going next developmentally? And so as you are making the choice about how you want to communicate with your child, what approach to use, then we have this assessment to give us places that we know we need to start. The assessment is looking at your child's strengths and needs. And it is a really critical piece of what we use to start talking about services and goals. But one really important piece that I want to stress for you as parents is that there isn't, in birth to 3, there is no requirement that your child have a delay in their language in order to get services from the deaf ed teacher. Of course, we're always looking to make sure that kids either don't have a delay or that we're focused on keeping kids where they should be developmentally. We want every child to develop as typically as possible. But there are a lot of important pieces, again, because this is a partnership between ECI and you as parents and us as deaf ed teachers. We still have a very important piece, even if your child isn't showing a delay in language. you know, in terms of supporting you, in terms of bringing you information and research and resources. And then also to continue to assess your child's language development and ensure that it doesn't start to get behind. And so I just want you as parents to know that your child doesn't have to have a delay in order for you to see a deaf ed teacher on an ongoing basis. Other services, just as a quick side note to that, other services through ECI, whether it's speech or physical therapy or occupational therapy, those children do have to qualify for those services. So they may need to show a certain amount of a delay or have a specific condition in order to access those additional services through ECI. But in terms of getting the deaf and hard of hearing teacher, there is no delay required. Tammy, you want to talk about telehealth?
So I know, someone recently asked, and we'll get to, are they going to come into my home? And that's an interesting question based on the past year that we've had where face-to-face has not been safe. So we do use telehealth. We had started telehealth before in a small pilot, and that is where services are provided the same way we're doing this presentation. I would much rather be in a room with you guys and laughing and cutting up, maybe even bring some cookies to the table, but that's not actually the way it works out. And so what we use is something similar where they do video chat with the parent and they provide services through telehealth. So it's through a Zoom or some other platform. Telehealth services, you do have to sign a consent saying that it is okay and that you do accept receiving services through telehealth, but that consent can be withdrawn. So you may want to receive telehealth during a time as we were in the pandemic where face-to-face wasn't safe. You really didn't, people weren't coming into your home. That just wasn't, it wasn't possible. It's still, even outside of that pandemic, there could be times where let's say you have a family member who has some sort of an illness. They're really, you don't want other people around them, or you've got some other factors going on that telehealth can be beneficial, but you can change that. You're not stuck to it. If you do change or if you decline telehealth services, those services will happen in person. And it's when available, but it's not like when we want to get you scheduled. It is in person when it's safe. We can't say during a pandemic when we're told to stay 6 feet apart and social distance, and we can't put the family or our staff at risk. So in those times that may not be possible, but whenever possible, and if it's safe and you choose not to have telehealth services, you will have what we call regular services, which before the pandemic, that's all we knew was face-to-face services. Again, we're coaching the family. So it is natural to be there in your home, to be around you and the things that you're doing in your routine. But if it's not safe, then telehealth is an option and you choose which one works for you, what works for you now. And it doesn't have to be like your telehealth for 3 years. You're going to get telehealth till 36 months. You're not. You may have telehealth and you may go to in-person services. Something may happen and you may decide that you want to return to telehealth for a specific time. And then you want to go back to regular services or not. It's totally, it's a choice that's in your control. Again, as the parent, you're still going to be the one in control.
All right, let's talk briefly about the Individualized Family Service Plan, which is essentially the plan that we write for your child and for your family. So birth to 3 services are focused on the whole family, not just the child. So let's take a quick look at what happens in an IFSP. So first we have required people that have to come. Obviously, as the parents, you are very, very required. We make no decisions without you. Your service coordinator or case manager will need to be there. Other ECI service providers as appropriate. So if your child is getting physical therapy, we want your physical therapist to be there. If the child's getting speech therapy, we would like that speech therapist to be there. And then if your child has an identified hearing loss, then your teacher of the deaf or hard of hearing or parent advisor must attend the IFSP meeting. And as as Tammy mentioned earlier, parents may invite anyone you choose to attend this meeting. So you can have anybody that you would like. If you'd like grandparents to come, if you have a family counselor that you would like to come, if it's your best friend because you need that person there to help you process information, whomever you would like, you may have that person come to the IFSP meeting. So when we're writing an IFSP, first thing we look at is your family and your routines and what it is you do every day of your life and what it is that we saw in the assessment we did. And then we start working on goals. And those goals are there for us to all know, family, professionals, all of us know exactly what the goal is and what it is we're working on to help your child and your family achieve that goal. And so when we write goals, they are always based on the needs of your family. They will be focused on the whole child. So for me, what that means is as a deaf ed teacher, I come in and my goals are typically written around language and communication development and maybe some auditory development, some listening skills. But that's not all I do. I don't just sit on the floor and play with the child and do listening skills and talk one word at a time or expose them to one toy with a word. We want to get up, we want to move, we want to engage the whole child. We want to go outside and use language outside. We want to use language during lunchtime, during bath time. So when I say focused on the whole child, I mean, we're trying to engage your child's whole brain through activities, through play, through daily routines. Again, most everything we do is planned around your daily routines. And this is because it's what the children are familiar with. Your child knows your daily routines because you do them every day. And so it's predictable, it's something familiar. So it's easier to begin to insert language and communication strategies into that. But it also fits in with your day. We're not asking you to create a whole new pocket of your day for something. We're going to fit in with what's already there. Goals for IFSPs are written in your words. Granted, the professionals are going to help make sure that all the pieces are there because there are required pieces when we put together a goal. But again, it's focused on your concerns and your needs and what it is that you want us to be working on for your child and family. And so we're going to use your words and those specific things in order to help us write these goals. We always want to build our goals on the strengths. We want to start with where is your child, where are they in terms of what they're doing in language and communication? What are the things that we are seeing them do? And where's the next step? Where's that next developmental step that we want to see them succeed or achieve?
Mari?
Yes.
This is Michaela. We have a question here.
Mm-hmm.
It says, if ECI is started for other concerns and a teacher of the deaf is needed, based on updated testing, what are the amount of days it takes for a teacher of the deaf to be added? And would a new IFSP meeting be required to add the teacher of the deaf?
Well, those are good questions.
Mari, sorry, somehow you are muted.
Oops. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So in terms of how long it takes to get the teacher added to the plan, some of that depends on how quickly we get that required state information that I mentioned earlier. We have to have a report from an audiologist, a report from an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And those two pieces of information are what allow that deaf ed teacher to join the plan. So if we have part of that and not all of it, that's one of those first things that your parent advisor and your ECI service coordinator will do is get that data. We'll get those reports from those two professionals. If we need to help you get an appointment with, say, the ear, nose, and throat doctor, we can do that. So how quickly that teacher joins the team is dependent on how quickly we get the required information that the state of Texas tells us that we need to get. Oh, shoot, Michaela, what was the second part of that question?
This is Michaela. 1 second. The second part is, would a new IFSP meeting be required to add the teacher of the deaf?
Thank you. And yes, you would have to have another IFSP. So this would be if you've already got services, let's say the child had physical therapy needs. So you've already got an IFSP and you've already got physical therapy goals. What we're going to do now is add a service. So we're going to add the teacher of the deaf and those services to the plan. And that does require an IFSP to do that. And so the team would have to come together and update the plan and then write a goal or goals for the services from the teacher of the deaf.
Mari, there's another part to that question that was texted to me.
Okay.
If the parent can't get an appointment for many months for ENT and audiology or can't afford those medical appointments, are there any things that can be done?
Yes. So that is one of the pieces that ECI can help you with if your child has a suspected hearing loss and you're trying to get through those processes. You can call and refer to ECI and they can help you try to kind of navigate finding a pediatric audiologist, finding a pediatric ear, nose, and throat doctor, and getting those appointments. ECI can also contact the local school district and get support from the teachers of the deaf about places that we could refer you to. And so I'm going to lose my train of thought. Hang on. Michaela, was that in the chat?
That was sent to me privately.
Read it to me again.
Sure. If the parent can't get an appointment for many months with ENT or audiology, or they can't afford these medical appointments, what can be done?
Great. So ECI and your teacher for the deaf can kind of help get you started down those paths of getting to the right professionals. If cost is a factor, then obviously ECI can connect you with other agencies or other services that might be able to support, whether that might be Medicaid. There are different organizations, both charitable organizations and different places that do provide sometimes scholarships and support for families who are struggling to either get to doctor's appointments or get needed listening equipment. But ultimately, if we've exhausted everything, the family doesn't have insurance that covers it, the family cannot pay it, there's no other avenue for support, then ECI will step in and take care of getting that documentation. They'll take care of paying for that. But ECI is what they call the payer of last resort. And so we will try to do everything we can to get it paid for. But if you can't get in to see a doctor due to financial inability to pay, that's a big piece that ECI can help first figure out if there are other ways to get it paid. And if not, then they can help take care of that. In terms of if let's say you have your audiological already taken care of, we know your child is deaf or hard of hearing, but you're trying to get to the ear, nose, and throat doctor. Sometimes that is a challenge because in certain communities, there may only be one ear, nose, and throat doctor. And so getting an appointment can take a long time. If your child has already been identified, they've already seen the audiologist, we know there's a hearing loss, we're just trying to get that ear, nose, and throat doctor report, there is wiggle room in the law. What we can do is have the family go to their pediatrician. The pediatrician can temporarily sign off saying, I've reviewed this child's records. Yes, the child has a hearing loss. That allows the teacher for the deaf to come into the home and start services. What it does not allow for is getting something like hearing aids. So if the family wants hearing aids, we still need to help you follow up and get to that ENT. But if you go to the pediatrician, we can use that to start the in-home services. And so I know there were a lot of pieces and steps in those questions and in the answers I gave you. If you would like more information or would like that written out, Michaela is more than welcome to share my email with you. So I could absolutely type that out in a little more detail, but in terms of timelines, some of it is dependent on getting the right information from the right professionals. And then in terms of getting you to those professionals, yes, there are different ways that we can tackle that to try and help.
Can I just add that that's where it's really important that you share these with your service coordinator, the case manager, when you call the ECI. We a lot of times will say to a program, well, have you heard from this family? And they'll say, well, we keep calling and they keep saying they're waiting. And in the end, we find out, they were waiting to get into an appointment. Not that we don't have a red line phone that we can just call and they put us in front. I wish we did, because I think, that would just solve a lot of the world's problems. But sometimes it's challenging just to get into those appointments. But I can tell you that when we work with you, if you're working on it, we're working on it. Let's both contact them. They're eventually going to get us in because they don't want us calling every day, or, they want to move it along. And so it's important for the parent to say, many, many times I hear, in the end, we'll say, oh, we didn't know that's what you were waiting on. Let those service coordinators, let them know you need some assistance. And if it happens the next day, they say, well, I'll give it 2 or 3 more days. And if it happens in 2 or 3 more days, just call and say, I don't need the help anymore. But it's better to go ahead and put that out there. Many parents have said to me, I just thought it'd be a couple more days, and a couple more days ended in a couple more months. So.
And, we all know, Tammy and I both know, but anybody who's working in early intervention in birth to 3, excuse me, a couple of months is a long time for a baby. That's a long time. And so that is part of why we are here, is to help get this stuff moving along so we can get all of the paperwork pieces taken care of quickly, because we don't want families and young children waiting and waiting and waiting. And so, right, anytime you feel like you're struggling or you're not able to get what you need in order to get things in place for your child, go to your service coordinator. If you already have a relationship with a deaf ed teacher, you can talk to that person. You can talk to your local school district. But ECI, really, their whole focus is on infants and toddlers and families in the state. And so they are always your best bet for getting started.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, we are getting short on time, so I'm going to bop right along. When we are talking about goals, and I mentioned this earlier, the writer of the goals for an IFSP is you. Now, we as your team are there to support you, because a lot of times we look at a parent and say, what goal would you like to work on? And they say, I don't know. Because again, this is new. This is not something that you may have thought through like this before. And so we are there to help and support you in writing the goals. But again, it's just important for you to always remember, this always goes back to your concerns and what you see as the needs for your child and family. And that's why you are essentially writing these goals, because it's based on what you know and what you know you need. Another big piece that comes out of our relationship is empowerment. And empowerment works on both and on both sides of the fence. So as soon as we start this relationship, partnership and collaboration begins. As soon as there is a referral in place, we are already setting the foundation for this partnership and for us to all collaborate together in order to bring you the best support and resources and information we can. You bring the qualities and the knowledge and the expertise about your family and your child and all of that with you. And we respect that, and we honor and want that as part of this process. We are making sure that the information you get is unbiased. and that it is good information that you can use to begin to develop an understanding and then help you make the decisions and choices that you need to make going forward. As parents, you are 100% a critical part of every decision that is made. We don't make decisions without you because this is your family and this is your young child. And so you have to be involved in everything. As we all work together, one of the pieces that we also like to try and help families do is connect with other families. And that's part of what we're doing right here today with Hands and Voices, is trying to connect parents with other parents, because there is a lot of knowledge and advocacy skills that come out of your relationship with other parents and also with deaf and hard of hearing adults. And then you also empower us, because as we sit with you, we learn more about your child and family. We learn about how you think and process information. And all of this, your input, your perspective, and your feedback empowers us to grow and learn and to be better at what we do, so that we are continuing to support not only you and your family, but the other families that we're working with. And so again, this whole situation is an ever-growing and ever-flowing relationship that begins the minute that ECI and a family connect. Okay, so let's talk quickly. Somebody earlier asked about where services occur. And Tammy did talk about telehealth versus in person. And that is, again, you know, some of the ECIs statewide are returning into homes. Some are doing kind of hybrid models. Some are only serving certain families in homes. So they're still, depending on the local areas and their decisions about safety, we still have a wide variety of how services are being provided. But in general, under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act for infants and toddlers, natural environments are places where your child and family go consistently, and they're places that typical families with infants and toddlers also would go. It can be your house, it can be out in the community. And because we're talking about young children, the services we provide are provided in the natural environment as much as humanly possible. Services do and can be provided outside of a natural environment, but that is not done regularly. Traditionally, again, we are trying to serve your child and your family in places that make sense to you, places that you go regularly, places that your child goes regularly.
And, you know, we say it's where the child lives, learns, and plays. You know, we want to go, if we're here to help you develop strategies that will work with your child, it makes sense to do those in an element that would be familiar to your child. You know, I always say a child who's in childcare, which is a natural environment that some families choose for services to occur. That child in childcare may be triggered by other children or the atmosphere, the busyness, the noises, and that may not happen at home if they're an only child and it's usually calm and quiet. And so going to the home to do services when there's not a trigger, you know, is not going to be as effective as going to the childcare center and seeing it happen and saying, when this happens, let's do that. So it's really important that you basically have your routine and we fit into it. This is a reverse model for a lot of people. You're not coming to us and saying, okay, what do you have to offer? We're saying, you tell us what your routine looks like, tell us what your day looks like, and let's get into that, because it's individualized. That's all you need to know about that acronym. The IFSP is individualized and it's for you. And so it's the natural environment. It's when you get that, you're, oh, okay, yeah, it makes the most sense.
So some of our natural environments, obviously home is a big one. And a lot of our services do occur in the home. But your child may also go to another family member's home, grandma or an aunt or a cousin. And that, again, for those children is also a natural environment. daycare or other settings where children are together and interacting. It could even be a park or an outside play area that you go to on a regular basis. It can be your backyard. It doesn't have to be a formal play area. And things like libraries for parents who take their kids to library days. And those are just a few natural environments. There are numbers of other places that parents and children go regularly. It's just important to remember that natural environment doesn't always mean at your house. It doesn't have to. Because again, we're talking about daily routines. We're talking about trying to interact with your child and your family during normal parts of your everyday life. And so if these are parts of that normal everyday life, these are pieces that we also want to try and be a part of so that we can support your child's development in all of these different areas. So when we're talking about daily routines, this is a piece that is really helpful for both the family, but also for us as ECI providers, because it helps us look at what goes on in your day and where are good times for us to try and connect with your family to focus on our goals. And so, you know, some of these include story time and nap time and cooking when you're making food, eating. There are some other routines that are not on the little clock because they might not happen every day, but they may be regular enough, such as a doctor's visit, going out to eat, grocery shopping, or even travel. And so, you know, one of the things that we will do with you is sit down and say, take us through what your day looks like. What is a normal day? When you get up, what do you do first? What do you do next? And I know sometimes that can be a hard thing to ask somebody to think through because we do it so automatically. But your daily routine is really the foundation for everything that we do because, again, it's what your child is already familiar with. And so it's easy for us to infuse language skills or to infuse other strategies and developmentally appropriate skills within these areas of your day that are already happening on a daily basis. So Tammy mentioned earlier, one of the things we do, we talk about coaching families. Coaching is not the same as teaching. Coaching is us there as your partner standing side by side in a supportive relationship. You are now and will always be your child's first and best teacher. You are the one that your child spends the most time with. You have known your child since before birth. And so you are always their first and best teacher. And so with coaching, we are here supporting you. We're not standing in front of you saying you need to do this and then this and then this. We're actually sitting next to you and sitting at the same level that you are, trying to help you figure out where to go. So coaching allows you to learn and practice skills, to talk with us about what it is that your concerns are and where it is that you want us to focus, and then for us to help you determine what sort of skills and strategies make sense for your child and family and gives you an opportunity to practice. Whether it's ECI or your deaf ed teacher, your parent advisor, we come in, we have discussions, we talk about resources, and then if need be, we will do some modeling just to show you what some of these activities might look like. One of the critical features of coaching is that you as the parents or as the caregivers are the doers. So everything we practice, we might show you once or twice, and then after that, you are the ones who are doing the activity. The point of a home visit is not for me to come in and play with the kids, as much as that is my favorite part. But it's really for you as the parents to get in there and do these things and try them and practice them so that you can see what works and what doesn't, and we can tweak and make it so that it does work and match your child and family. And in light of that, we want you to tell us what works and what doesn't work. If you try it and you think, oh, this isn't working, but maybe it was just me because I'm new, tell me that the next time I come in. Say, this didn't work. And I don't know if it's because I didn't do it right or because it just didn't work. Because we can analyze that. We can sit together and talk through it. We can figure out what is working and what is not and how to make things best match for you. So very quickly, because we are really running out of time, I'm just going to take you a quick look at the coaching model. There are 5 pieces to this. Each session should involve joint planning, which is really just you and the early interventionist, whether it's the deaf ed teacher or your service coordinator or one of the other service providers. But every time we come in, we should sit down and talk about, how did things go last week from the last time I saw you? Are we still working on this particular goal that we had talked about previously? Because sometimes things change in a week and maybe we need to stop what we were doing and focus on something different. And it's looking at the pieces that you as the parents were working on, and it's looking at any pieces that we as the professionals needed to bring, whether it was information. So we just sort of do a recap and look at what it is we're talking about for this session. Observation is always a big piece of this, whether it's you as the parent observing us or us observing you and your child. But observation is a great way for us to really look and see how things are flowing. Action practice is just what it says. It's a time for you to actually practice these activities, to get directly involved with your child and see how they work, for you to experience them and see if pieces don't feel comfortable for you. But this is your opportunity to really practice while you still have this professional in the room with you. Feedback, again, is a big part of coaching, and it comes from both directions. We give you feedback about what we see, how your child reacts, how you react, but you also give us feedback about, that really wasn't comfortable, or I would not normally do this way, this isn't my usual flow, or that was fabulous, that was perfect. But we do this give and take feedback throughout the sessions. And then your final piece in this, really for both of us, is reflection. For you as a parent is to reflect back on what we talked about and what we did and what you tried. And then through that next week, reflect on how it's going. And for us, we go away and reflect on the conversations we had. And did we bring up all of the pieces we needed to? And oh, wait, was there an article I meant to bring to you or that I thought of? So we're always both reflecting on what we've done, what we've talked about, and how we can continue to make things better and to really continue to help your child develop through each session. And this is just these little icons. You may see these. Some teachers actually have paper that have these little icons on them for each of those different pieces of the coaching model. But the coaching model is an interwoven model. We don't start with joint planning and move to reflection and hit all the points in between. It's a fluid model based on what is needed at the time. And so we will weave in and out of all of these different pieces throughout different sessions with your family. And again, why coaching? This supports your ability to help your child, because what this boils down to is you are with your child more of the time than anybody else is. We come out maybe once a week for 45 or 60 minutes and work with your family. That's not enough. If I just work with a 10-month-old for 45 minutes once a week, that's not enough. And so our job really is to come in and coach you and give you the skills so that you can continue to do it all day, every day, 7 days a week. Your child is going to learn best from familiar people in familiar environments and doing familiar things. And that is the focus of everything we do. Communication and language strategies will happen daily and can happen in multiple routines daily, because again, one time a week for 45 or 60 minutes probably means I'm going to interact with one of your daily routines, but you have the opportunity and your child's caregivers have the opportunity to do that all day, every day. And coaching ultimately gives you the skills to continue to be your child's first best teacher throughout the rest of their lives. This just gives you more pieces to pull from when you are interacting with and talking to and signing with and reading to your child.
Because when we're done in 36 months, you know, you get to keep your child. You're going to be with your child for their life. So we're there to help you to build these platforms, you know, this foundation that you're going to be, we're coaching you to be this child's advocate, teacher, you know, whatever it is that that child needs, they're going to go to you. And so this is your opportunity. And I think a lot of parents think, oh, okay, I have to fit into what they want. No, we're here to help you, because you're the one that's you've got the big job. You know, our job may seem fancy or may have some disciplines, and some people may have some titles, but ultimately you have the most important job and you play the most important role.
All right, I know we had questions along the way. Are there any other thoughts or questions?
Thank you so much. I have asked that if there are questions that don't get answered today, that they reach out to us and we'll make sure to connect them to everyone to get those answered. But I will pause for a second and see if anyone does have a question. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much, Mari and Tammy, for presenting today. There is a question about getting a copy of the PowerPoint. Mari, do I have your permission to share that as a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am, you may share away.
Fantastic. Everyone will get a copy of the PowerPoint in a follow-up email that I'll get out to you here in just a little while. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Sarah or anyone at the Texas Hands and Voices team, and we'll be sure to get you supported. I want to also thank the Statewide Outreach Center at Texas School for the Deaf for their funding of the Guide by Your Side program. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next webinar in July to share all about Texas Hands and Voices and the resources we provide to families. Thank you, Mari and Tammy, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.